Yo, what's up guys? This is Sleet and welcome to a second ever video on my channel. Sorry for the flashing, that's lightning. It's raining and the fog is covering the New York City skyline back there. Also in front of me, it looks like I'm about to be a victim on Dateline or something. But I came out here so I could talk privately, and none of that stuff matters because Manchester City have knocked out Real Madrid from the Champions League round of 16. 2-1 today and 4-2 on aggregate. Honestly, I was very nervous before the game, but after today, I'd like to say that City might be favorites. I think the only other team that I'm nervous about us facing potentially is Bayern Munich because of how good they've been. But if we can beat Real Madrid twice, home and away, I think we could beat any team. So first I want to go over what the two lineups were today, and I think I'm going to talk about at least every single individual City player that played, and I'll mention a couple from Real Madrid as well. The lineup I thought City would go with yesterday was pretty close to what Pep actually went with. Ederson, of course, was in goal. I got the whole back line right. I knew Walker would play. I felt Fernandinho would play for his experience over Garcia, and I thought Laporte would play, of course. Cancelo. I'm going to say this now. I think most people will probably go with Jesus as their man of the match after his goal and assist today. And the pressing from him was fantastic, but I think my man of the match has to be Walker. Multiple times he was very composed. He let the ball go out whenever a Madrid player touched the ball out or had a loose pass. He was very calm, collected. Before the game, I was most afraid of Hazard, and Walker completely shut him out of the game. I don't remember Hazard really doing anything other than completing a few dribbles maybe, but he didn't really do much. He had one shot, but that was when he was on the other side after a corner. And looking at the game as a whole, I thought Walker just completely shut down any attack from that side. Real Madrid's goal came from the left. Looking at Cancelo, I think, well, at halftime, most of the pundits that talked about it, they thought that Cancelo was at fault for the goal. But me personally, I think after the initial mistake of letting Rodrigo nutmeg him, I think he did well to try and get out to it. My issue was with the two center backs and Rodrigo. Rodrigo dropped in and he was the closest to the header. He just missed it. But I think Laporte shouldn't have got sucked out. Like, Cancelo was there. Ederson would be blocking the near post or around that area if there was somehow a shot from that side. So I don't think Laporte needed to be dragged out the way he did. And because he was, there was enough space in the middle then for Benzema to get in and get the header. But overall, I think Laporte did have a good game. I thought Cancelo was good. A couple of times he'd pull out a skill, get himself out of trouble after like a bad pass or a cross-field ball. I think he hit it over Rodrigo's head one time. And for the most part, he was good. Laporte, I think, was very composed and collected for the entire game, especially like one of the long balls that came over. He had his back to it and he controlled it with the outside of his right foot, which is his weak foot. Then looking at Fernandinho, I thought for the majority of the game he didn't really have much to do. There was one time I think he got cut up for pace when Walker was up the field, but the cross wasn't very good from the Real Madrid player, so it didn't matter. And for the most part, he was great. Defensively as well, I think another standout thing was near the end when Madrid were really pressing, Laporte won this header, and I thought that was very impressive. He got up when it didn't seem like he was going to win it. Looking at the midfield, I thought Rodri was very good. He dropped back into defense when he was needed. He was very composed on the ball. He didn't lose it often. There was a disconnect one time. A Laporte pass was somewhat loose. I thought it was more Rodri's fault. He was looking over his shoulder, and he wasn't looking where the pass was coming from. So when it did come, he miscontrolled it, and Madrid had a chance to break, even though they didn't. In front of them, I thought De Bruyne was very good today. I thought defensively, he did very well. He got back when Kroos was there or when Modric pressed forward. And while he didn't get an assist or a goal, he did have a shot early on. He was causing problems the whole game. I think afterwards he had more chances created than the entire Real Madrid team in the whole game, which is very impressive. Even though he didn't really get anything for it, he did play well. Hey, I'm currently walking home in the rain, and I was rewatching what I just said, and I think I should have mentioned this even though I didn't, because of just how brilliant it was. There was a pass from De Bruyne near the end of the game into David Silva, not into David, sorry, into Sterling. What a ridiculous pass. He cut the entire Real Madrid defense open. It was through a couple of their midfielders as well. Honestly, one of the best passes I've seen. Deserved a goal, or deserved the assist, sorry. Didn't get it. But it was a great play, and I think if Sterling was a bit better at finishing, that would have been an assist. That was a great pass. The other midfielder was Gundogan. This is one of the positions I didn't predict well. I thought that either Bernardo or David Silva would play, and I went with David because I thought his composure might be used and experience, but we went with Gundogan, and Gundogan did well. I was a little apprehensive when the lineup came out. I thought Gundogan might cost us the game because just there's a lack of pace that he used to have, and I think he still thinks he has it, and sometimes he gets done very easily. But overall, Gundogan did have a good game. I think the only real thing he did going forward was get up in the attack and try and provide support around the edge of the box. One time he got a pass from, I think it was Foden. I think Foden cut it off the side and played it into him, and he first time hit it towards either Sterling or Jesus, I can't remember. But I think if he had just taken his time, he first off could have taken a touch and then taken the shot on himself. But he kind of rushed it, and it would have been, I think, an easy goal or a tap-in if he had just taken his time and been a little more composed then. But I do understand him trying to play it quick. Looking at the front line, I think the main thing that shocked me was Foden, because I thought that the front line was going to be something akin to the first leg. I thought we would go with the same sort of 4-4-2 that we went with, and then we had Bernardo and De Bruyne as a false nine with Jesus on the left, and I thought Jesus would play somewhat in the middle and kind of on the left, maybe start in the middle and drift off to that side. I thought Sterling would do that on the other side of the field, but instead Guardiola put Foden as a center forward, and in front of him were Sterling and Jesus, and it was almost like a 4-3-1-2 or like a 4-3-3 with the false nine. Going over them individually, I think I mentioned before, Jesus was fantastic. He had the pressure for the first goal, which led to the assist after he won the ball back, and then the second goal, he chased it down again, provided good pressure, and he won the ball and scored. Sterling, of course, scored the first goal. I thought he was good for most of the game. If there was a different referee tonight, I think Sterling easily could have won 2 penalties. He had one chance where he just did Ferland Mendy very easily, and he kind of fell over, missed the shot. Casemiro came in behind. I don't think there was contact for that, but when I was watching it live time, I thought that might have been a penalty. And then later on in the game, I think it was Modric. No, actually it was Carvajal, came across when Sterling was cutting in from the left, and he did win the ball, but before he won the ball, he took Sterling out, and I thought that should have been a penalty, or at least it should have been reviewed more by the VAR. They only showed one replay on TV, and I think it was more of a chance than what they acknowledged. Foden, I thought was very shocking that he started, but I thought he did very well in the first half. He was dropping in. What I liked about him was he, first off, wasn't afraid. He didn't let the occasion get to him, but also he was very composed. He'd take 1 touch, 2 touches, and he'd release the ball. He had shots, he had good passes forward, he'd turn with the ball, he'd run with it. I think near the end of the first half, he started to kind of come out of the game. He switched with De Bruyne, and I don't think it worked for him. He was kind of just getting the ball and trying to hit it around corners. And while he was keeping possession, I don't think he liked playing so far back, and I don't think that's what Pep really wanted him to do either. So I don't think that worked completely well. Then for the substitutes, I think Pep acknowledged that Foden was starting to drift a little more out of the game as opposed to the first while where he was doing well. Bernardo came on. I thought Bernardo did well. He did have a chance where he turned one of their defenders and got a shot off. Second change came later in the game. It was David Silva on for Sterling, and I thought Silva did well when he came on. He had one good little mazy dribble through the box, and he could have got a shot off. He looked for a pass. He lost the ball. Another time he kind of ran forward and he went to the corner, and I thought that was very well done. I was surprised he wasn't fouled when Carvajal lifted his shirt off his back. And then our third change was Otamendi. I didn't think Otamendi did much. He came on pretty late, and it was only to kind of see out the game and make sure Real Madrid didn't score again. Looking at their team, Zidane, I think, was too predictable. I think Guardiola went for something. I watch City every week. I wasn't expecting him to go with what he did, even though I thought there was a possibility of Gundogan and Rodri in a double pivot. I didn't think he'd go for that. I thought he would go more attacking, and I think he kind of suggested he would yesterday. Looking at Real Madrid's team, it was pretty much exactly. I think the only player I didn't predict playing was Rodrigo, and I thought Vinicius would play, and I thought Vinicius would play just for the pace. And I honestly kind of forgot that Rodrigo was a player there. Or I kind of forgot about him because I haven't seen him as much, but he did well, of course, assisting the first goal after nutmegging Cancelo. I think where it went wrong for Real Madrid, of course Varane with the 2 mistakes, but I think arguably the player that did worse was Courtois. Courtois Zidane obviously instructed them to play out from the back, and Courtois was not comfortable with that at all. From the first couple of minutes, he seemed kind of shaky when they were playing it back and forth. And while they were keeping good possession, most of their possession in the first little bit of the game was in and around their own box, and City were pressing pretty well. Of course, the first goal came from that after a couple of minutes, Sterling getting onto Varane. But I think what was mostly wrong about that was Courtois hit it behind Varane, and Varane's right-footed. So when he took it, I think he might have actually used his right foot first, but it was almost like towards his left. And the biggest problem with that was that his body was shaped like his hips were out towards the corner, and Varane doesn't want to go there. And if he's got the instruction to play out from the back, he's not just going to like launch it away or try and clear the ball, because that's not what's on his mind, obviously. He could have probably tried to hit it back to Courtois. In reality, like in hindsight, he should have just knocked it out. He should have given him a corner up. But instead, Jesus did very well to pressure somebody as strong and fast as Varane and got the ball away from him. And that was our first goal. The second goal, again, was a Varane mistake. And I think this one was much more obvious that was his mistake. He kind of telegraphed that he wanted to head the ball back and he wanted Courtois to pick it up. And when you do that, you got to make sure that you put enough power on the pass back or the header or anything that you do to get it back. And you got to know that you're going to make it. And I think when it was bouncing, he should have probably tried to clear it or take it down. And he was focusing too much on what he wanted to do and not on where the ball was. And his touch was bad. He let it get away from him. Jesus nipped onto the pass. And it was a very good finish on Jesus' left foot. His weaker foot, with Courtois rushing out, I think he did very well to just kind of dink it past him or tap it to the side of him, and it just rolled in. And from there, I think City closed out the game. I didn't think there was anything Madrid could have done. Zidane waited for a very long time to make his subs, and he made all three of them at the same time. He went with, I remember Jovic coming on, I think Hazard came off, Valverde came on and Vasquez came on, but I don't remember who exactly went off for them. At that point, I thought the game was pretty much done and dusted. I was still paying attention, obviously, but I wasn't as focused on what they were doing to try and get back into it. But I think where he went wrong today, I think that is a problem, waiting to make your substitutions, making all three at the same time, and then like none of them working because you didn't give them enough a chance to change the game, and you needed goals. You should have probably gone for that earlier. I think main issue was the starting 11, and while I thought that Kroos would be the better, I thought maybe Madrid should have not started and it would have been Valverde, because I think when people give City issues on a normal basis, like sometimes we lose to random worse teams or we just don't do well against a Newcastle or Southampton, but when we get outplayed, it's normally because of a physical, fast midfield that outruns either David Silva or De Bruyne or Fernandinho or Rodri or whoever's in there. And getting outpaced is a big issue for us as a team. So I think Valverde kind of strides in that. He's a good nippy player. He likes to tackle. He likes to run. And he's pretty quick back and forth, at least quicker than... Sorry for all the cuts or any issues with sound. There's a lot of cars and planes going around. Here's another one. Like I was saying, I thought Valverde should have started it, and I think they missed that physical presence in the midfield. I think Modric had a very good game in terms of possessing and switching the ball. I think when Real Madrid looked their most dangerous was when they'd go down the right and they'd hit it back. Or not the right, sorry. They'd go down the left side with Hazard, and then they'd hit it back, or Hazard would try and dribble back and like cross the ball over to Carvajal or over to Rodrigo, who had the pace to get onto it and kind of cause problems. And that's how their goal came, from like down that side. And I thought the person who was doing that best was Modric. I thought he several times got out of very tight situations where he had 3 or 4 players around him, would do a little turn or like just look back, be very composed and pass the ball away. Kroos as well turned out of pressure a couple of times, but I didn't think he was imposing himself as much on the game as Modric was. And I think if it had been Valverde and Modric with Casemiro, I think there would have been a little more dynamism. They would have caused more issues, and maybe they could have gone through. But that didn't happen, and I'm very glad it didn't. Looking at it now, I'm excited for the game against Lyon. The goals in that were kind of bizarre in the Lyon-Juventus tie. Neither of the penalties I thought were penalties. The first one, the Juventus player completely won the ball. I don't know how that was given as a foul. And then I think maybe to like kind of even up the bad call, he gave the penalty to Juventus as well. But that wasn't a handball. Like, I don't know how that can be called as a handball when it's like right on the body. Ronaldo's second goal after the penalty was a very good goal, but it wasn't enough to see them through. And I was watching the last couple of minutes when it switched over, and Juventus seemed kind of all over the place. They were scrambling. They weren't really getting forward or hitting balls into the box like you might think they would. When you're down and you need goals to go through. City are of course the favorites against Lyon, and I'm confident that we should beat them, but it is one leg, so Pep will have to get the tactics right. And after today, I am confident he will. He set up the team very well. He outclassed Zidane in the home and away fixtures, and I think looking at it as a whole, City were kind of comfortable against Real Madrid. There were issues. They're like, of course they're gonna have chances. They're one of the best teams in the world. But City handled them, and I think they can. I think they showed that they can handle any team. And now that everything's going to be at a neutral ground, there's always a chance. The only team left that I think can cause a lot of issues are Bayern, but we've got Lyon next, and I think that'll be a win. And hopefully, if we get past them, maybe Bayern slip up against Barca, or if Napoli go through against Napoli. And I'm confident that City can get to the final for the first time, and I think we can win this, especially with the one-legged ties. I think we're better than any team. I think we have more depth than most teams, and I think the way we're playing is confident, and it will be confident after what we did today. Lyon, of course, beat us last year twice, or I believe it was twice in the Champions League, but their team was slightly different. I think I'll make a video on that. Of course, I think I'll do another match preview and then a match reaction after the game, but I'm quietly confident for that. And I don't think, without Ndombele, I think he was their main problem starter, they'll be able to quite cause the same issues they did last year. But anyways, I'm looking forward to that. This was a historic night. I see on Twitter a lot of Real Madrid fans getting angry or upset or thinking that they're way better. All the polls in the past couple of weeks, all the people saying Varane's a much better player than Laporte, how they're going to crush us, they're easily going to beat us, this is their competition, they've got this. And to knock them out is going to give our players a lot of confidence. And it was nice to see my team winning and going through. All right, I am very happy after that win. I think I'm going to head home before I get kidnapped in the dark here in this random, I don't even know what this is, factory area. Okay, thank you for watching. This has been Sleet. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll make more videos like this about Manchester City, mainly as the team I focus on, but I think I'll also talk about other teams in the future. Wear your mask, people, and I'll see you later.